How China built a $300 million mega bridge across a dangerous giant canyon. High above a deadly canyon surrounded by steep cliffs and violent winds, China completed one of the most dangerous bridge projects ever attempted. A gigantic steel structure stretching across a massive abyss now connects two isolated mountain regions that were once separated by hours of dangerous travel. This is the story of how engineers, construction workers, and thousands of tons of steel transformed an impossible canyon crossing into a $300 million engineering masterpiece. From explosive mountain excavation to cable systems hanging hundreds of meters above the ground, this is the full story behind China's incredible mega bridge project. The canyon chosen for the bridge project was one of the most difficult terrains in the region. Towering cliffs rose almost vertically from the valley floor, while strong winds swept continuously through the narrow gorge. During rainy seasons, landslides and rockfalls made transportation extremely dangerous. Before the bridge existed, local communities and cargo trucks had to travel around the canyon using winding mountain roads that added several hours to every journey. Economic development in the area remained slow because transportation costs were extremely high. Chinese authorities believed a direct bridge crossing would completely transform the region, but there was one major problem. No ordinary bridge design could survive the brutal environment. The canyon was simply too wide, too deep, and too unstable. Engineers needed an entirely new solution. After years of geological studies and computer simulations, engineers selected a massive suspension bridge design capable of spanning the dangerous canyon. The bridge would stretch thousands of feet across the gap while remaining flexible enough to withstand powerful winds and earthquakes. To support the enormous structure, giant bridge towers had to be anchored directly into solid mountain rock. This required drilling deep into steep cliffs where even moving construction equipment was incredibly risky. Every component of the bridge was carefully designed to survive extreme weather conditions for decades. Before construction could begin, crews first had to reshape parts of the mountains themselves. Bulldozers and excavators carved narrow roads into dangerous cliff edges so heavy equipment could reach the construction zones. Workers blasted away unstable rock using controlled explosions while engineers continuously monitored the surrounding terrain for signs of collapse. At some locations, crews worked hundreds of meters above the canyon floor while attached to safety cables. Even transporting materials became a major challenge. In many areas, cranes could not operate because the terrain was too steep. So engineers installed temporary cable transport systems that carried steel components across the canyon through the air. Every day on the construction site involved serious danger. Strong canyon winds could suddenly stop operations for hours. Dense fog often reduced visibility to near zero, and during storms, work crews had to evacuate immediately. Despite the risks, construction continued. The bridge towers were among the most difficult structures to construct. These gigantic supports needed to rise hundreds of feet above the canyon while remaining perfectly stable. Engineers drilled massive foundations directly into the mountainside using reinforced concrete and deep anchoring systems. As the towers grew taller, giant climbing cranes lifted steel and concrete section by section into the sky. Construction workers operated at terrifying heights with only narrow platforms beneath them. Precision was absolutely critical. Even small alignment errors could create major structural problems later when the suspension cables were installed. Advanced laser measurement systems constantly checked tower positions to ensure millimeter-level accuracy. After months of non-stop work, the enormous bridge towers finally stood above the canyon like giant steel skyscrapers. But the hardest part was still ahead. One of the most dramatic moments of the project involved connecting the two sides of the canyon for the first time. Engineers first launched lightweight pilot cables across the massive gap using specialized systems. These small cables were then used to pull increasingly larger steel cables across the canyon. Eventually, gigantic suspension cables weighing thousands of tons stretched between the towers. The process required extraordinary precision because the cables needed perfect tension balance. Too much stress could damage the structure. Too little tension could create dangerous instability. Powerful hydraulic systems slowly adjusted the cables while engineers monitored every movement in real time. Once completed, the suspension system finally formed the backbone of the mega bridge. Now workers could begin constructing the bridge deck itself. Building the roadway above an enormous canyon was an engineering challenge unlike almost anything else. Section by section, massive steel deck components were lifted into position high above the canyon floor. Some pieces weighed hundreds of tons. Powerful cranes and cable lifting systems carefully moved each section while crews connected them together in mid-air. Workers often faced strong winds that caused the hanging sections to sway dangerously. Construction teams had to wait for precise weather conditions before major lifting operations could continue. At the center of the canyon, the final bridge sections were connected together with incredible accuracy. After years of construction, the impossible gap had finally disappeared. A fully connected mega bridge now stretched across the dangerous canyon. Before opening to the public, the bridge underwent extensive safety testing. Heavy trucks loaded with massive weights crossed the structure repeatedly while sensors monitored every movement. Engineers tested the bridge against simulated earthquakes, strong winds, and extreme traffic loads. Advanced monitoring systems were installed throughout the structure to track stress levels, vibrations, and long-term performance. The bridge passed every major test. Officials declared the structure safe for public use, and soon vehicles began crossing the canyon in minutes instead of hours. The impact of the bridge was immediate. Transportation routes became dramatically faster. Trade increased between remote mountain regions. Tourism also surged as visitors traveled to see the incredible bridge suspended above the giant canyon. For many local communities, the project completely changed daily life. What was once considered an impossible geographical barrier had become a symbol of modern engineering ambition. Today, the bridge stands not only as a transportation link, but as proof of how technology and engineering can overcome some of nature's greatest obstacles. China's $300 million canyon mega bridge represents far more than steel and concrete. It is the result of years of planning, dangerous construction work, and extraordinary engineering precision carried out in one of the harshest environments imaginable. From unstable cliffs to giant suspension cables hanging above a deadly abyss. Every stage of the project pushed the limits of modern bridge construction. And in the end, engineers achieved what once seemed impossible. A gigantic bridge now floats above the canyon, connecting mountains, cities, and millions of people together.